Hello and welcome back to GP Nail Art. So I have my brown fall mani that will be up in the cards for you. I have some naked nails, so I'm going to be doing a new mani today, and I'll be using some of my Cascade Colorworks colors. So I will be using Cranberry and Champagne. And when I initially did the unboxing or showing those, Easy Nails said that she would love to see a mani with the Cranberry and Champagne. So I'm sorry that it took so long to get to this, but I have not forgotten some of the requests that I've had in the past. So I thought this would be a perfect time, especially in November, to do colors that can kind of either be fall or kind of transition into something that looks a little bit more holiday as well. So what I'm going to be doing first, I'll be doing 3 full dips of this color on my thumb and my pinky. And initially I thought that this color was going to look a little bit bright, but later on it's just a really perfect holiday red. It's not a super bright red. It does darken a little bit when you put the activator and the top coat on, so you'll see that later on. But I'm just doing my normal dip powder process. I'm using my Virgo Gem liquids as well, and nothing really too out of the ordinary. I'll be doing something a little bit different with the 2 colors on my index, middle, and ring finger. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but for now I'll let you go ahead and watch the dip powder process for these nails. Okay, so first things first, I did use my UNT Peel Base on these nails, and I am going to be using, it's not striping tape, but it's like, I have these kind of like striping, they look like striping tape, but they're stickers, so they're a little bit easier to use because they're a little bit stickier. But in order to make sure that the UNT Peel Base or UNT Peel Base doesn't kind of tear up, because if you put the sticker or striping tape right onto the peel base, it'll cause it to kind of tear or lift away from the nail, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the peel base, right? So if you put down a layer of your base coat first and let that dry, that'll keep that from happening so that your peel base is intact and you'll still be able to pop the nails off at a later date. So these stickers are actually quite thin, and I don't have any that are kind of a thicker strip. So I'm actually going to be using, I think I pulled up 4 of them to kind of create a thicker strip of stickers, essentially, to go down the center of my nail. So I did kind of mess up this one. One of them kind of, separated from the rest of them. It still ended up working out. The one thing that I was worried about as well is because they're individual smaller strips, was that the base coat could kind of get under the strips, but that didn't really happen. So, I was kind of careful to not really get the base coat all over the stickers as well, just so that they're easier to lift up when you're ready to take them off. But I'm going to do the same thing on each one of the nails. So I'll probably, what I'm going to do for the video, for the remainder of the video as well, is show you in real time on the index, on my index nail, index finger, and then speed it up a bit for the other two nails, because it is going to be a little bit repetitive. But I'm just, I'm starting the edge of those stickers right at my cuticle line. I'm not overlapping my cuticle, and that's because I don't want any of the base coat to get under the sticker. So if I kind of overlapped it on my cuticle, there would be kind of a space or a gap underneath this sticker. So it's kind of pushed right up against the cuticle line, but all like completely flush on my nail. So next step, and I am going to be using the Cranberry first, is that I'm going to very kind of gently, or as struggling for the right word here, as carefully as I can, placing the base coat on either side of the striping tape or the striping stickers, so that I can pour over the red. But I tried very carefully, as much as I could, to not get too much of that base coat on the top of the stickers, where that stripe in the middle is going to be, so that they're easier to lift up afterward. So you can see I'm trying to scrape a little bit of away before it kind of hardens too much, so that it's not too much of an issue. But it wasn't too hard to place the base coat on either side. There was still kind of enough, you know, room to do so without overlapping those stickers too much. So it worked out pretty well. And also the width of the stickers, I kind of wanted it to be big enough that I would be able to apply base coat without it overlapping too much on the red. So that was kind of the thought process there. I didn't want the stripe in the middle to be too thin or so thin that it was going to be really difficult to lay down the base coat for the champagne dip powder that we'll be using next. So if you saw the thumbnail picture, you can see that it's like a stripe of the I kind of was going for an ombre kind of a look, so it's just the glitter and clear to kind of make it an even layer, but we'll get to that in a moment. I'm gonna finish up, and you can see I dropped my jar there and spilled some of my powder, but you know, it happens. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish up applying the red powder, and again I'm doing 3 layers of this on each nail as well. Okay, so the moment of truth. So you want to remove the stickers before you do activator. If you do the activator, it's probably going to be too hard and you have the chance of cracking or chipping the red dip powder or whatever color it is that you choose to do. Prior to activator, it's still kind of soft enough to easily remove those stickers. So now I have a nice kind of stripe down the center of each one of those nails. I'm going to go ahead and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and activate each one of the nails just kind of lightly. I'm not going to slather it on too much. But what I want to kind of do at this point is make sure that the red, especially on my index, middle, and ring, are kind of hardened so that if any of the gold gets on the red parts, which it's going to do, the way that I'm applying it, that it's not going to stay stuck. So I did kind of let that set and harden for a moment before I go in with the champagne color. But I, do let those harden so that the gold doesn't get stuck to where the red is. So I pulled out my color switch that I'm using right now, so it's just a really easy way to kind of quickly clean your brushes, and it really does actually help get the glitter off of your brushes as well. So that's kind of a nice tool to have. I was going to use my regular clear, but since I'm also using the glitter, I do actually use my glitter clear jar that I have instead. And I'm using my ombre brushes as well. So that's kind of, I'm going to use that fluffier brush, the e.l.f. brush, to pick up that glitter. I find that the e.l.f. one, because it's a little bit fluffier, not quite as dense, that it picks up the glitters a little bit easier and kind of lets them like fall easier onto the nail. And then the Wet n Wild brush for the clear, it's a little bit denser, so it picks up those other regular dip powders a little bit better. So I'm just kind of very carefully applying the base coat to the center of the nail where the stripe is. I'm very carefully trying to not get any of that base coat on the red, although if you do, you can use your orange stick or a toothpick or your water marbling tool to kind of push it off of the red, or kind of scrape it off. But I kind of did an ombre type effect of the gold, so more dense at the free edge of my nail and kind of tapering up towards the cuticle, and then using the clear so that I have a nice even layer of powder, because if you don't do the clear, you're going to kind of have a little bit of a divot, or it's going to kind of feel like a bump or a dent. It's just not going to be an even layer. So in order so it matches up with the red that's already applied, you want to make sure it's nice and even so you don't have any bumps at all. So I'm going to do the same thing on each one of the nails. On the next layer though, I am going to apply the clear powder first, and that's just to kind of, when you're doing an ombre kind of an effect, you want to kind of, start with one color and then reverse it on the second layer, and then you can reverse it again on the third layer, just so you kind of get a nice blended look. I did find, because I'm using the gold and the clear on the third layer, I kind of started with the clear again as well, just because the gold in some spots looked like it was kind of going too far up the nail, so just to kind of give it a little bit more of a blended look, I did the clear first again instead of going back to the gold. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up these nails, and then once I am done applying like this ombre stripe in the center there. I am going to go ahead and cap everything in clear so that I don't remove any of, you know, the hard work that I've done with the filing that I'll be doing off camera. Okay, so I'm still using my designated glitter clear color. I just didn't want to contaminate my regular clear with any of the glitter pieces at all. And this also, again, is just going to make sure that you have a nice even layer to work with when you go in to do any of your filing. And they did come out nice and even when I kind of run my finger across the surface of the nail. I don't feel any difference between where the red and where the stripe is, so I was quite pleased with how this one came out. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the regular clear to do my thumb and pinky, and like I said, I'll file. I'm going to go ahead and activate again before I do my filing, so that's just going to make sure that none of the dip powder kind of chips away during the filing process. And then we will come back for top coat. Okay, so I finished with all my shaping and filing, so I didn't have any problems with that at all. Everything's nice and even. I'm going to go ahead and activate again because I am using my dip powder top coat. So you want to do a layer of activator before you go in with your top coat. So that is going to be what helps your top coat be nice and shiny. All right. And I do also like to kind of remove any filing residue or some of that activator residue with a little bit of rubbing alcohol as well. So, you know, even though you activate again, that's just going to help to make sure you don't contaminate your top coat brush or liquid. If you find that your top coat brush is getting hard while you're trying to apply, that's because it's getting contaminated with the activator. You want to also make sure that you wipe your brush in between each nail on your paper towel or a lint-free wipe or something of that sort to keep that contamination from happening. So first go around, as typical with the dip powder liquids, you're just going to do 3 to maybe 4 strokes of the dip top coat across each nail. Not anymore. You don't want to go over it with a lot of brush strokes because that could end up making it look a little bit dull. You can be more thorough and get that free edge and do more brush strokes on the second layer. And then that's it. You don't do a third or fourth layer or anything like that. Only the 2 layers, and everything should be hopefully nice and shiny. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this top coat, and we'll be back with some cuticle oil and some final thoughts. Okay, so typically for my top coat, I do let that dry for a good 5 minutes. I'm just the kind of person that if I touch it too soon, I end up smudging it, so I just kind of give myself a good 5 minutes to make sure it's thoroughly dry before I go in and touch it, because the last thing I want to do is have any fingerprints or smudges in that top coat. So I am going to go ahead, I'm going in with my cuticle oil there to make sure that my skin is kind of re-nourished, because it does get my skin anyways, does get really dried out from the alcohol and activator and everything like that. But I'm really loving how this one came out. I really love that red color. You know I love my reds, but this one is a really beautiful red. And like I said, it's a little bit darker than it looks in the dip powder jar. So I was really happy with this red. So I'll definitely be using that one again. But let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below. And until next time, bye for now.